Today's really, really important, okay? I know exams are coming and all that, but today we're beginning a 4-part series that is really, really important to me. In fact, we're really looking forward. We've been planning for this series for some months now. And today we're going to kick off a 4-part series, right? That is really, really crucial. Why is this series crucial? Because, let me tell you, this year I'm 36 years old. Man, that's old. It's like double some of your age, you know? And I'm 36 years old. I've been in church for about 16 years now. I came to church when I'm 20 years old, right? And I've been in church for a long time. And not just have I been in church for a long time, but I've seen many friends serve together in the church, right? And I noticed this, and I want to share with you this. If you could take a glimpse at the future, right, you will know that actually a lot of people that served together with me last time are no longer around. They're no longer in church. Maybe they're in another church. Maybe they drop out of the Christian race altogether. Maybe they stop attending church. Maybe they don't even consider themselves Christians. And I noticed that some people, despite challenges and tough times in their life, up to today, they're still going strong in their faith. So after many, many years of serving, right, there are different people that respond differently. So this series is super important, right, because we don't just want to live out our Christian life for a few years. Like, a blaze, I received Christ in Sec 3. I last until JC2. Then after that, finished. Then rest of my life, I don't know what happened there. We don't just want to live out our Christian life right in a very short span of time, but we want to run a good race. So this series, this 4-part series is really, really important for me, and I strongly encourage you to attend every single one of it because every single one is important for you. Okay? The title of this entire series is called The Core Modules. Everybody say with me, Core Modules. Core modules, right, make sense to those of you studying in poly or university because you have things like core modules, but it don't quite make sense maybe to secondary school or JC, right? But what core modules means is that if you do a certain course, there are certain modules that you are compulsory because they are the foundation of what you're doing. And then there are certain other modules that are electives that you can choose, they are optional. But these core modules are foundational modules. They are essentials, okay? So over the next 4 weeks, we're going to do 4 very, very important modules. Today, we're going to do running the distance. Next week, Buan Hua will be teaching us about being steadfast in trials, all right? Buan Hua has some fans in this place, okay? So Buan Hua will be teaching us about when very, very tough times come your way, how do you stand strong? How do you be steadfast? How do you persevere? How do you withstand the trial? Then the following week, Natasha will be teaching us about wisdom in decision making, all right? Natasha is a fan here in the front, okay? And he's a celebrity, all right? So Natasha is going to teach us, right, how to make good decisions, you know, how to serve God fully and then marry a celebrity. So that's how she's going to teach us. So wisdom in decision making, because you know, sometimes, right, a lot of times people start off wanting to serve God, wanting to live a life for Christ, but because they make certain poor decisions, certain not so wise decisions, what sometimes we call foolish decisions, it hijacks their entire faith. So we need to be wise in decision making. And finally, to round up this series, Zheng Kai will be teaching us about self-discipline for growth. Because when we grow, there are going to be distractions. There are going to be things that look exciting and interesting and take our focus away from it. And we need to be disciplined, focused, consistent, all right? So every single one of these topics, right, we've been thinking about it, we've been talking about it, and we've talked about what are the key essentials to building our core, building our faith, so that when the test comes, when the temptation comes, we can stand strong, we can last the distance, all right? So I encourage you to come for every single of these 4 parts. You're already here for part 1. That's fantastic. Come for every single one of these 4 parts, despite your exams and whatever, right? Because this will help you last the race. Exams come and go, okay? Different exciting events in our life come and go, but this message, this series will help you last the race. And we're going to start today with the title of today's message called Running the Distance. But before that, how many of you recognize this person? Yeah, how many of you know who this person is? Anyone shout his name out? Shout his name? Usain Bolt, right? Many of you know him, right? Can you show the next slide? Usain Bolt. He is the world record holder of the 100-meter sprint, 200-meter sprint. Many of us know his face. We know what country he's come from. We know what he's good at. We know his endorsements. We even know his pose, right? Usain Bolt. Now, next question. How many of you know this person? Wow. Who is this person? How many of you know this person? I'm going to show you his name. And now you see whether it's familiar. Do you know him? Do you even know how to pronounce his name? Try. Why don't you try it? Eliud Kipchoge. Sounds Korean. Kipchoge. Who is this guy? This guy, the correct pronunciation is Eliud Kipchoge. And he is the world record holder of the marathon. He's the world record holder of the marathon. If you have ever run a marathon, maybe you're fast and you run it like 6 hours, 7 hours, maybe you're slow and by the time you finish, they are keeping everything already. This guy finished the marathon world record, right? 2 hours, 1 minute, 39 seconds. 2 hours, he finished a marathon. By the time you and I finish the marathon, he already finished his massage, bathe, take his nap, wake up from his nap, we're still running, we're still walking, right? This guy is the world record holder of the marathon. Most of us have never heard of him, even though he's a world record holder. Most of us have never watched a marathon. We have never watched a full marathon because it's so boring, right? And a lot of times, right, people liken the Christian life, the Christian journey, to a race. Many people, including the Apostle Paul, liken the Christian life to a race. And in 2 Timothy chapter 4, right, when the Apostle Paul was about to pass on, he was about to die, and he said, I have fought the good fight, I have finished the race. I have finished the race. Many people liken the Christian life to a race, but do you know that a Christian life is more like a marathon than a sprint? The Christian life is more like, the Christian race, rather, is more like a marathon than a sprint. If you're talking about a race, it's not a race to see who can complete this 100-meter dash in the fastest timing under 12 seconds or under 11 seconds. It is more like a marathon, how we can last this race. Yet, we live in a society, right, where we highly emphasize results and speed. And we want the desired outcome ASAP. Between Usain Bolt, which everybody knows, and this other guy who we can't even pronounce his name and we don't even recognize him, Eliud Kipchoge. One is clearly more famous than the other. One clearly has more endorsements than the other. We might have even watched Usain Bolt win gold medals because it only takes us 10 seconds to watch it. Whereas another one, it takes us 2 hours plus. It's so boring, there's nothing interesting that is happening. And so in our society today, we are enamored by results and speed. As fast as possible, get it done, show me the results. And sometimes this attitude translates into our Christian faith. What do I mean? You know, sometimes, right, and I noticed this, it's quite common that when one of your friends, right, start to serve on stage, maybe for the first time, right, they are serving on stage as a vocalist or a guitarist, what will happen is that likely, right, the friends in the district, the unit, the LG will whip out their phones, Insta story it, and they put some captions like, sign my forehead, sign my neck, sign my bone marrow, or whatever, sign something. And we mean it as a joke, right? A lot of times. We mean it as a joke. But a lot of times we kind of communicate that, hey, once you make it on stage, right, and you play, right, hey, you made it, man. You made it. Once you do something public or once you do something impressive, right, you made it. On the flip side, the reality is that a lot of times in our Christian walk, when we face difficulty, we don't often like, okay, anyway, there's going to be difficulty in life, I'm going to carry on. Most of us react like this. God, why? Why so difficult? Are you sure this is for me? And then we think of giving up. A lot of times, right, on the flip side, when we face the slightest hint of trouble, we start to think about, where's my exit plan? How can I get out of this? How can I minimize my pain? So even though we know that the Christian life is like a marathon, where in a marathon, there'll be times where you feel that, wow, your lungs are pumping and you're really tired, your legs are aching and you have nothing left, but yet there's, still 2/3 of the race to go and, it's tough. Yet, we think of it a lot of times like a sprint. We want ASAP, we want results, we want to get the fastest, as fast as possible, as good as possible. And so just now, right, as we were worshiping together, the prophecies that were in line together, the words that were given, both for the leaders as well as for the sister who is very stressed with her N-levels, the same word from Isaiah chapter 40, verse 31 that says, but those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. You see, a lot of us, right, when we start running, at the start, it feels good. At the start, it feels okay, but after a while, we start to get weary. After a while, we start to get tired. And therefore, we need to grow, we need to get strength from the Lord to keep running this race. Because if we don't, we'll drop out of the race. Nobody starts the race. Nobody starts a marathon. Nobody starts to run, right, with the intention to drop out. Yet, many people do. And I want to let you know that many people drop out their Christian race altogether. And if you reach my age and beyond, you realize that, hey, the people who used to serve with you and chong with you and lead groups and sacrifice their life, many of them, after they go out to work, after they get married, after they have children, they have different priorities, and they slowly but surely, they drop out. How can we be believers that not just run fast for the short haul, but we run far for the long haul, we run a good race, and we finish it well? And the title of today's message is Running the Distance, from 1 Peter chapter 1, verses 3 to 7. The title of today's message is Running the Distance, from 1 Peter chapter 1, verses 3 to 7. You can write down the title, and it's a great habit to take down notes. You can write down the reference verse, and later we will unpack these verses together. And let me just paint you some background as you're copying the title and you're writing the reference verse. In this book, right, the Apostle Peter was writing to a group of Christians. And this group of Christians, right, were living among a lot of non-Christians who had a very, very pleasure-seeking kind of lifestyle. They were living amongst people who had no God or who worship all sorts of different gods, and they lived a very, very sinful lifestyle. And these Christians who were born again and they knew God and they wanted to live a different life, they had a very, very hard time because they stuck out, because they didn't fit in. And as a result of them not being able to fit in because they were living set apart lives, right? As a result, right, they were living in a very uncomfortable environment. They were being discriminated, they were being mocked, they were being ridiculed. Even to a point where if you are known as a Christian, it's like a bad word. It's like you're a Christian, it means you are stupid, it means that you are ostracized by the community. So in this setting, right, it's definitely not a comfortable environment to be a Christian. But yet, right, the Apostle Peter was writing these words to encourage them that even though it's tough, even though it's difficult, even though it's easier to drop out, but stand firm because there is a reason that God has for all this. And just as Peter was writing to the Christians some 2,000 years ago, today, we too can draw encouragement from God's word. I'm going to read out these, I want to encourage you to read out these few verses on the screen in full voice together. And as we read out God's word, let's receive whatever God has for us. On the count of 3, are you ready? 1, 2, go. Praise be to God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. In His great mercy, He has given us new birth into a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, and into an inheritance that can never perish, spoil, or fade. This inheritance is kept in heaven for you, who through faith are shielded by God's power until the coming of the salvation that is ready to be revealed in the last time. In all this, you greatly rejoice, even now, though now for a little while you may have had to suffer grief in all kinds of trials. These have come so that the proven genuineness of your faith, of greater worth than gold, which perishes even though refined by fire, may result in praise, glory, and honor when Jesus Christ is revealed. All right? So this is the passage that Peter was writing to the Christians because they were going through a really, really hard time. They were going through trials and sufferings and persecutions and discriminations. And this was his encouragement to them. The first thing we can learn today, all right, is number one, we need to build our core on the foundation of Christ. Number one, build our core on the foundation of Christ. We can learn that from verses 3 to 5. Build our core on the foundation of Christ. From verses 3 to 5. All right, it's quite a long point. You can write that down in your notes, in your hard copy notebooks. I'm going to read out these verses to you. So here Peter is talking about our new identity. after receiving Jesus into our life as our Lord and Savior. He says, praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. In His great mercy, He has given us new birth into a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. All right, and into an inheritance that can never perish, spoil, or fade. This inheritance is kept in heaven for you who through faith are shielded by God's power until the coming of the salvation that is ready to be revealed in the last time. Okay, he's using a lot of different kinds of languages, but I just want to simplify all this for you. Imagine this, you and I. Many of us, right, when we come to faith, right, we are new believers. We are new Christians. Some of us are second-gen Christians. Some of you are second-gen Christians. It means your father, your mother were believers. But even if you are second-gen Christian, at some point, your faith has to be your own. It's not just my father's religion, my mom's religion. At some point, you have a revelation of God. You make a personal decision that even though my dad and mom follow God, I want to follow God. So whether you're first gen or second gen, you have a new birth in Christ. So Peter was referring to this. When you are born again, when you receive Jesus into your life for the very first time, now you have a living hope. Now, because of Jesus' resurrection from the dead, now you have a new life, a new identity. And not just that, after you die, there's an inheritance waiting for you. It will never spoil, it will never fade, it will never perish. This inheritance is kept in heaven for you. You and I, because we receive Jesus, we not just have new life here on earth, but then when we pass on, we have an inheritance when we are united with God. And then he's saying that how strong our core is, right? How strong our core is, right? Whether we stand the test of time, right? Depends on the foundation that we build it on. Okay? What do I mean? Let's take a step back first. Let's take a step back. Now, who is this person writing all these words? Think about it. Who is Peter? This guy who is writing all these words. If you know kind of like the story, if you've been in church for a while and you read the Gospels, right? This guy Peter, think about this guy Peter, right? What did he do? How did he interact with Jesus? He was one of Jesus' closest disciples. He was in his inner core team. All right? You and I, right, we love Jesus. We know God. We trust Him. We surrender our lives to Him. You and I, right, we have never met Jesus, you know? Anybody met Jesus before? Anybody? Okay. No? Nobody? Okay. You and I, we have never met Jesus before, not even one handshake. But this Peter, right, he walked with Jesus for 3 years, you know. He was one of this inner core team, and he learned directly. When Jesus was teaching people, he was there. When Jesus was performing miracles, he was there. When they were on a boat, they were about to die, and then Peter said, hey, and Peter shouted out, Jesus, if that is really you, call me to come. And then Jesus said, okay, come. And then he started to walk on water. He experienced miracles that even other disciples did not experience. So this Peter, right, had a first-hand experience with Jesus. So after 3 years of listening to his teachings, of seeing the consistency of how he led his life, of experiencing the miracles, right, after 3 years, right, this Peter was so confident. He was so confident that Jesus, you are my rabbi, you are my teacher, you are my Lord, I will follow you all the way. And he openly declared it. Then on the last night, at the Last Supper, when Jesus was about to be betrayed, he said this to all his disciples. He said, you will all fall away, Jesus told them, for it is written, I will strike the shepherd, which means referring to Jesus, and all the sheep, all the disciples will be scattered. But after I have risen, I will go ahead of you into Galilee. Then guess who opened his big mouth? Peter. Peter declared, even if all these other jokers, the losers that have been following you, but they have no loyalty whatsoever, even if all of these guys fall away, I will not. Wow, that was brave, right? And then Jesus said, yeah, I'm sure you will not. No problem. Come, let's go and have a coffee. No, he said, truly I tell you, today, yes, tonight, before the rooster crows twice, you yourself will disown me 3 times. Wow. But Peter insisted emphatically, even if I have to die with you, I will never disown you. So that was Peter. I've walked with you, I've seen your miracles, I love you, I will never leave you. And he's declaring his loyalty. The same night when Jesus was arrested, The same night when he was being questioned by people, hey, don't you know him? Aren't you one of his disciples? I seen you hanging around him. Even when he was questioned by a little servant girl, he cowered in fear. And he said, I don't know him. And he called down curses on himself and he started to swear and say, I don't know him. I don't know him. I'm not his disciple. And, you know, and suddenly, right, from such a bold declaration, right, he became such a timid coward. It's like suddenly like a different person. It's the same night, you know. Imagine the same night that this thing is happening. On one hand, very confident, very proud, very sure. The same night, he just betrayed Jesus. He just abandoned Jesus. And then he just claimed that I don't know him. How? Why? Because his confidence was based on himself. His confidence was based on his own ability to follow Jesus. He said, because I know you, I'm sure that I will follow you. But his confidence was based on himself. So then, right, he went back to his old way of life because he denied Jesus. Jesus died. He didn't know that Jesus rose again, so he went back. He went back to fish. He went back to do his own thing, right? Then he met with the risen Christ. He met with Christ that rose again. And Jesus not just met with him, but reinstated him. Said, Peter, do you love me? If you love me, feed my sheep. And then Peter was encouraged. Peter was strengthened. Even after Jesus was taken up to heaven, right? This Peter was changed. This Peter was different. Now, he would preach fearlessly. Even when people were about to arrest him, he was not scared anymore. He would preach the truth because he knew that this Jesus that he was following, this Jesus that he knew, he was not just a good man, he was not just a miracle worker, he was God. And he rose from the dead. He had met the risen Lord, and he knew this was real. So he went on to preach the gospel fearlessly. People arrested him. People threw him in prison, but he was not scared. He had great faith. And if you look at that Peter, who eventually was killed for his faith, and you look at the previous coward that ran away just because a servant girl said, hey, don't you know him? Aren't you his disciple? And he said, no. And he denied Jesus. How can someone from being such a timid coward become so brave? Not because of himself, his personality, or his decision, but the foundation of his faith completely changed. The foundation of his faith was no longer on himself, his own ability or commitment to believe and follow Jesus. The foundation was on Jesus' resurrection. That this Lord, this God, this rabbi that I have, he is not just a good teacher, but he is the risen Christ. Because Jesus rose again, I can put my faith in that. And even if I suffer in the present, even if I'm fearful in the present, I put my faith in the resurrection of Jesus, the foundation is strong. And so it leads us to the passage that we're reading today. Praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. In his great mercy, he has given us new birth into a living hope through what? Through what? Through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. And upon this resurrection, we can have an inheritance that will never spoil, it will never fade, it will never perish, that is kept for us in heaven through Jesus Christ's resurrection from the dead. This promise is for you and me. My friends, God never promised us a life without trouble. God never promised us a smooth sailing life where everything we do will succeed. But what God promises us that even when we go through tough times, even when we are tempted beyond what we think we can bear, God, we have a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ on it. That's our foundation. And if you build your life on any other foundation other than this, my friends, it will not stand. Think about this. If you are building a very, very, very strong building with a very, very strong core, all right? It's made of titanium, it's made of platinum, it's made of whatever strongest metal, this building. But the foundation, but the ground is shaky, it's muddy, there's a lot of loose soil. No matter how strong this building is, it will fall anytime. You know what I mean? Because the foundation is wrong. So no matter how strong you build your core, how persevering you are, how strong you are, if your foundation is wrong, if your foundation is based on the wrong things, it will still fall. We need to build our core on the right foundation. If you build your core on something else, Like, wow, today church very fun, very interesting. Oh, today I like the program. Oh, today I like the preaching. It managed to excite me or interest me. I laugh a lot. Oh, the community is very fun. This life group is fantastic. Oh, they are really loving. I really feel encouraged by them. My leader, my mentor, my LGL, he's fantastic. When all these things no longer exist, when sometimes the program doesn't entertain us anymore, when sometimes it becomes inconvenient for us to go to church, when sometimes our life group lets us down rather than builds us up, when sometimes we expect things to be a certain way but they are not, then we get discouraged, then we get disappointed, and we say, oh man, maybe this Christian deal is not for me. Because we built our foundation on the wrong core. We built our core on the wrong foundation. We built our lives, right, on a shaky foundation that is here today but it can change tomorrow. But if you build your foundation on the resurrection of Jesus from the dead, that is here today and it will never change. And that inheritance that God has prepared for us, that too will never change. My friends, it is very, very important for us to know this. Maybe we didn't come to faith, right, because, oh yeah, Jesus resurrected from the dead, I confirm believe it. Maybe you came to faith, right, because your friend invited you, it was fun, the community was welcoming, and all these things are fantastic. They are great. And we do our best to do church in the best possible way, right, so that people can feel loved. But at the end of the day, as you mature as believers, right, you've got to come to an understanding that my faith is not based on what, the people around me or the programs around me. My faith is based on Jesus and His resurrection from the dead. Because Christ rose again, even if I go through hard times, even if I go through difficulties, that is my foundation. It will never change, all right? So point one today is build our core on the foundation of Christ. And the second thing we can learn today, the second and final thing is build our core to last the distance. We can learn that from verses 6 to 7. The second point and the final point today that we have. Build our core to last the distance. We can write that down. Point number 2. From verses 6 to verse 7. And once you're done copying it down, I'm going to read out these 2 verses for you. You can copy it down, and I'm going to read out these 2 verses. Are you ready? It goes like this. In all this, you greatly rejoice. Though now for a little while, you may have had to suffer grief in all kinds of trials. These have come so that the proven genuineness of your faith, of greater worth than gold which perishes even though refined by fire, may result in praise, glory, and honor when Jesus Christ is revealed. All right? Now, let me just show you a few imageries that Peter is using here. The first one is this imagery called fire. All right, fire. When we think of fire today, you and I, we think, what do we think? Like, let's say, when we think, wow, this person is on fire, or when this person does such a great job, the person shared a word, or the person preached, we'll say, oh, we use the fire emoji, oh, fire, 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 fire. Or we have this other emoji, right? Lit, that was really lit, that was great. I mean, that's how we think of fire, right? Or we think of basketball, when this guy hit 10 3-pointers in a row, we think, this guy is on fire, right? We think of fire as a very, very good thing. But in those days, when you use this word fire, actually had a very, very different purpose and a very different meaning. When you say fire, it's not like how we understand fire today. It's, whoa, that was lit. Whoa. But we have another meaning today that is closer to that original meaning of fire when people are thinking of today. The other meaning is burn. Like, let's say somebody says something very insulting, right? They say, oh, burn, right? It's like, the guy just got destroyed. Boom. One of the purposes of fire, right, is to destroy. That means in war, right, one of the things that they do after they conquer the enemy, right, is that they use fire to burn up everything. They burn up their cities. They burn up their towns. They burn up their people. They burn up their livestock. They just burn and destroy everything. One of the purposes of fire, right, in those days, right, and used in the Bible, right, one of the purposes is to destroy. That's why sometimes the Bible uses imagery about in the last days, right, there will be a fire, right, and the fire is to burn and destroy everything that is ungodly. The fire is to destroy everything. God's judgment will come like a fire to destroy the ungodly. It's not lit at all. It's not like, wow, come on, boom, 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 boom. It is not fun at all. It's not a good thing. It is a judgment. The fire of judgment, the fire of destruction for the ungodly. That was one of the purposes of fire. But the other purpose was to purify. one of the common uses of fire, apart from destruction in war, was to purify. Because in those days, one of the main uses of fire was to purify precious metals, gold and silver. So they will put the gold and the silver and the precious metals into a furnace that was extremely, extremely hot. It will be very, very, very high heat. Why do they need to do that? Because the metal has impurities. Like all the other chemicals, like you study chemistry, like there's carbon and there's sulfite and there are all sorts of other impurities in the metal, in the gold and the silver. So to make it pure, they need to put it under extreme high heat, very, very, very high heat, so that all these other impurities will kind of like I can't remember exactly what the chemistry thing is, but basically the melting point of all these things are lower than all the precious metals. So all these things will melt away, and then the metal that is left will be purified. The gold, the silver, the precious metals. So here, right, Peter is referring to fire to purify. He says that these have come so that the proven genuineness of your faith of greater worth than gold, which perishes even though refined by fire. He's talking about gold, and he's talking about the process of refinement of gold. A very, very, very high heat to make sure that the gold, the impurities are melted away and the gold becomes pure. He's talking about this refining process. And he's saying that all the tough times they are going through, right, it's not to curse you, it's not to punish you, but all these tough times, the extreme heat that you are facing, right, is to purify your faith. Your faith is being purified by this very, very high heat that you're like, wow, buay tahan already. It's so tough, it's so difficult. Maybe the place that you're in, right, it is not convenient to be a Christian. Maybe you're going through some family, parental persecution, maybe because of kind of like the experiences of what your parents go through. That maybe they have very bad experiences or impressions of what Christianity or church does. And so they give you a hard time. They give you a hard time. Sometimes they use words. Sometimes the words get very cutting. It can be emotionally blackmailing. Sometimes they even resort to physical violence. And I know, and I have friends who endure through even physical violence, even being chased out of the house. Sometimes maybe some of you in this room, you're not in a convenient place where it is easy to be a Christian. Or maybe many of your friends are not Christian and maybe they like to do sinful and wrong things. And then after becoming a Christian, you find that, it's hard to mix around with my old friends because it's like, I can't do some of these things, or I don't want to do some of these things because I want to honor God. But then, like, they keep making fun of my faith, they keep making fun of me, and it's like, how do I even live my life normally? I don't want to lose my friends, but I don't want to participate in what they're doing because what they're doing is wrong, and I don't want to do that. And maybe you're in a place where it's not convenient, it's not easy, it's not comfortable at all to be a Christian. Or maybe it's not to do with your faith, but maybe you're just having a really, really hard time in life. Maybe there's some fire in your life, tough trials, tough testings. Maybe there are loan sharks going to your house. And you're just like, wow, this is not even my problem. It's not even my debt. It's someone else's problem. Someone else wasn't responsible with their finances. And I have to bear the brunt. I have to see my gate, my door being painted with red paint. I have to look out for my family members. Maybe you're the oldest child. Maybe there's a lot of quarreling at home. Maybe it's divorce. Maybe you come from a single-parent family, or maybe just some adults are just not mature in your life. And I mentored some people in church, and one of my mentees who had a really, really hard time in his family. Really, really hard time, and his dad was just not behaving like how a dad should. And he would abandon the family, run off. Suddenly they would receive letters from creditors to kind of repossess their things, and then they would take away things, and then there would be loan sharks coming to their house, and then they would try to seize their property, and then he and his mom and his sister would be there, and he would say like, I just want a normal life. I'm not even asking for much. I'm not even asking like, I gotta have the best girlfriend or the best grades or the luxurious life. I just want a normal life, where all my friends, they are like focusing on their studies. Then when they're done with their studies, they can play their games, they can enjoy their thing, they have enough money. My life is just so, I just keep getting the short end of the stick in life. Maybe you're in a place where, either as a result of your faith or not, right, there's some of these fires. There's some of these trials and sufferings and grief. You're in this place and what you're asking for is not even much. What you're asking for maybe is just a normal life, a normal student life. Can I just be normal? Why do things have to be so difficult? And Peter was saying, some of these things come, right? Not to punish you. Not because in your past life or something you lived a terrible life and all these things are retribution or what. These things have come not as judgment to you. These things have come, right, to refine your faith. These things have come, right, where it is tough, it is hot, but as your faith remains strong and you don't give up, what happens is that the impurities in your life will melt away. And what remains, right, is a proven genuineness of your faith. The Bible says in Proverbs chapter 17, the crucible for silver, the furnace for gold, but the Lord tests the heart. Maybe the Lord is testing your heart with some of these fires and trials and sufferings. That maybe you came to church for the girls, or you came to church for the fun, or you came to church for the friends, or you came to church because you wanna learn about what it means to live a good and moral life because it is good teachings. Maybe you came to church for the blessings. Maybe you came to church because people appreciate and affirm you. And if you come to church for all these things, right, when the fire comes, what will happen is that what is impure, all the impure motivations will be burned away. It cannot last one. My friends, think about this. If you come to church, right, and you're serving, right, because people affirm you and they appreciate you, right, one day when people stop affirming and appreciating you, right, you have no more reason to come to church anymore. And you fall away. And then when the fire comes, when the testing comes, when the temptation comes, you just drop out of the race. You go elsewhere. Maybe you come to church for the fun, for the friends, for the fellowship, and this community is great and everything. Then once you graduate and you move on and you restructure, suddenly the next life group not so loving anymore. And all those reasons that kept you going no longer exist. How? They drop away. Other cliques in my university more fun. I can do other things with my outside work friends. And the reason that you stay no longer exists, and you drop out of the race. If you build your foundation on any of these things, right, when the fire comes, when the testings come, it will not stand. It will not last. I want to share you one more imagery that the Apostle Peter is using here. The other imagery that he's using is gold. All right? Of greater worth than gold. And why he uses gold, right, is because gold at that time and even today is one of the most precious metals. Is very, very, very expensive. So it's used, right, for very, very expensive and luxurious things. Only the rich, very, very rich can afford gold. And they use gold to build religious things like the temple and all that because it represents a very, very, very high value. All right? So gold is not just of great value, but the other thing about gold, right, you must know is it also has this characteristic. Gold is permanent. Gold has this characteristic that it will last very, very long. Gold, even today, right, if you're into finance, right, you will know that when recession comes, when stock markets crash, right, what do investors buy? Gold. They sell their stocks, they sell their shares, they go and buy gold. Why? Because gold is safe. Gold is like a safe haven, it's permanent. The value of gold will not fluctuate. So Apostle Peter is saying that gold, right, can last almost as permanently as anything. Right, gold. Even up to today, 2,000 years later, gold is still not just of great value, but its value is consistent. It's recognized. It's permanent. And he's saying this, let's look at verse 7 again. He's saying that gold, as permanent as it is, it will perish. Even gold, when the end times come, the gold will perish. But what will remain? What will remain, church? The proven genuineness of your faith. When the fire comes, even the gold will perish. But when the fire comes, your faith will remain. When the sufferings come, when the trials come, when the testings come, my friends, and they will come. Maybe some of us were not in the midst of testing and trial. But when they come, when they will come, we don't need to invite them and say, today very free, long time no trouble already. I'm going to look for some trouble because I need my faith to be tested. Okay, come, where's trouble? I'm going to look for some difficult trials. Papa, Mama, I'm a Christian. Christian say this. Like, we'll personally invite trouble, you know. Trouble will come. You don't have to invite it, but when they do come, what's remaining? What's your call? How does it stand? And today, right, I think we're really blessed and privileged because we have one of our friends to share with us his story of one of the toughest trials of his life. So, Ablaze, help me welcome Azuka from Ablaze Central.
Hello.
Hi. Azuka, share with us, how do you come to know God?
So around this time, 3 years ago, my friend Ping Wei, where's Ping Wei?
Wow, Ping Wei.
His friend like Nicole, right, brought me and my 3 friends to come together.
Right.
Then we stayed, and here we are now.
So 3 years ago you came to
Yeah.
Hope. All right. So shortly after, you went through one of the toughest trials of your life. Can you share with us more?
Yeah, so 3 months after I came to church, my mom had a relapse of cancer. So long story short is that, for some context, is that my mom had cancer since I was 12. So I came on to the news that she contracted stage 4 breast cancer from the very first day. Yeah, so that happened when I was 12. And by the grace of God, she got healed, completely free of cancer for about 3 years. Then in Sec 3, it came back again. And what happened was that after it came back, it went to her bone marrow. So she was very weak, couldn't move a lot. After that, the cancer was healed again, by the grace of God, again. And then the cancer went to her lungs. This time, it actually made a puncture, and there was like liquid that went in, and she couldn't breathe. I recall there was this one night where I was sleeping at 1 a.m., very shook already. So on my bed sleeping, then I felt someone grab my hand. Like, wow, ghost. You know. I realized that my mom woke me up. She told me that, hey, Aska, I cannot breathe. Well, I woke, man. So I woke my brother up, and he brought her to the hospital. So by the grace of God, she was healed again of her lung, cancer in her lung. And this year, earlier, cancer spread to her liver. And this time, she couldn't eat because it's like cancer in the liver, so she lost a lot of appetite. She couldn't like function a lot because she was very weak. A lot of her flesh, right, actually like kind of like dissolved. Like what I see on her hand, right, actually like just bone. Yeah, and many times she would agonize like, wow, you know, it's so tough. But being beside her at home a lot, I realized that I was equally like as helpless. I just see her like losing her health, and I couldn't do anything. And as a result, earlier this year in June, on the Friday, she passed away right after a Ablaze LGL camp. Yeah, so after the camp, we went down, and I realized that my mom was having her last hour because they brought in like all the equipment for oxygen and everything. So that was really tough because I remember like even like, you know, when I go to school, because it happened on a Friday, right? So the Monday I had school already. So when on the train, then I was going there, wow, cannot stop thinking about my mom. Then I would cry a bit, you know, on the train, I was walking, then I walk halfway, then I like look up, like, because like, you know, gonna tears, man. Then I was fan a bit. Then in the train, I need to compose myself also. So I just like try to, you know, brush it off, yeah.
And how do you get through this very, very, very tough period? Because, I mean, it's so tough to watch your mom slowly wither away and then eventually pass on.
Yeah, I really thank God for His community in my life, my mentors, my leaders, and my friends around me. I recall the first time I shared with my life group in 2016 that my mom had cancer, and they came back. They offered to pray for me at Toa Payoh, someone's house. Yeah, so I felt really loved that day because, you know, their presence was there with me. They prayed for me, encouraged me, tell me that, you know, God is sovereign. He has it all in His hands. Then in this year, after the camp, my team and I, we went down, you know, Hui, Carmen, Michelle, we went down together, Shelly as well. And then as we were there, I told them, hey guys, not looking so good. Yeah. And not just them, but many other people like Daryl, Coleman, and others, they came down for me to be there with me physically. And I really want to thank like my mentor Daryl also for relating with me through his similar life experiences. Yeah, that he shared with me before. Thanks, man. Not just Daryl, but also Coleman. Yeah, I recall in the days after my mom passed away, there were every other day he would text me. You know, he said, "Hey, Aska, like, how are you holding up? Are you okay? You know, share anything?" And he helped me to really kick the habit in me to write down my thoughts and to journal them, process them. Yeah.
So one of the things that really helped you was the community that journeyed with you. What else helped you get through this?
Yeah, more than this is really God's word. Yeah, I really hold on to God's word really tightly because if not for God's word, if not for God, right, what other assurance do I have? No, there's no other hope except Jesus. And I really hung on to that truth. And I always encourage myself with Ecclesiastes 3:11. It says that He has made everything beautiful in His time. And not just that, He has set eternity in the hearts of men. So as I cling on to that, and I always encourage my mom with that as well. That, Ma, don't worry lah. You're like, cancer or it's okay. And, you got eternity in your heart, right? At the end of the day, right, everything pure in comparison, right? Because the eternity, right, is like paradise. But right now, you got cancer, whatever setback you have, it's just like a small slight tackle in football. Just a small injury. And when you get there, right, it's gonna be like much more rejoicing, much more joy.
And you were sharing with me backstage, right, that actually sometimes you were on the verge of losing your faith, but you were encouraged by the role model of your mom. Can you share with us more about that?
Yeah, I remember my mom, right, because my mom, when she had her liver thing, she was a bedridden a lot of times. So she could only like move as much as to the toilet and back. So the toilet is right beside her bed lah. So I'll be there with her, and I was just asking her, Ma, how do you get past each day when I'm not at home? My brother, my sister, my father not at home. How do you get past each day? Her being a very strong believer, and it's just a simple faith that she has. And she always tells herself that, Aska, I'm not alone. The Lord is my good shepherd. And she will tell me the whole Psalms 23. And it ends off with, surely your goodness, love, and mercy will follow me all my days. And I will dwell in the house a lot forever. And with that, she was encouraged. She encouraged me when I was supposed to encourage her. So quite funny. But she was always very positive. Yeah, I recall that like she, in her phone, right, every day she wake up, she will take a picture of herself, smiling. Yeah, and every day she also tell herself, Psalms 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I have nothing to fear. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there have been days that you still miss her, and there were maybe more days down the road that you will miss her. How do you get through some of these days?
Yeah, I just went to my friend's POP 3 weeks back, and I was telling myself, right, it must suck for me and also my mom, right, that she will never get the chance to experience, right, going to this kind of army parade, see her son there, graduate and everything. Because I was just looking around, then I see all the proud like parents there. I looking at it, I was like, wow, no damn sense. I will never have the chance, right, to wear that uniform, be there in front of my mom and say, hey, I did it, I got through army. Or even like things like my first GPA in school, or like getting any other milestone in life. Yeah, and the truth is that it really, really sucks to the core. But the truth, right, is that my joy and my mom's joy, right, is found not in going for my graduation, going for this and that, but the true joy is found in God's presence, which I have confidence, right, she is in right now. So knowing that she is home with God, knowing that God's character is the one that takes care of His children very well. God's character is to love unceasingly for His children, right? I'm just like, wow, I don't need to know everything because I really trust the God that knows it all. And I don't need to know so much because He's God, I'm not. Yeah.
It took so much courage, right, for this young man to come out and share his story today. Can we give him a big, big hand? Thank you. Thank you. I'm so blown away by a young man's maturity, He's 18 years old this year. I'm double his age. Last night when I called him at about 11 plus just to hear his story, right, I was like choking up and on the verge of tears, right, not because of how tough his situation was, but I was so moved by how mature this young man is. That despite all the tough things that are happening, right, he's able to process it and make sense of it, right, and see that at the end of the day, right, compared to the joy of attending my graduation, my POP, my wedding, versus the joy of being in God's presence, right? Actually, she has a greater joy. How can you even comprehend that at such a young age? I know many adults, grown adults, who have been Christians for way longer, who may not reach the same conclusion in such a short span of time. It's only been 3 months since his mom has passed. And that's the very thing that we're talking about today, my friends. Tough times will come. We don't need to invite them. Maybe you're not in a tough situation now. Maybe you are, but whether you are or not, the tough times will come, the fires and the trials of life will come. And then when it comes to purify and test, what's truly there? What at the end of the day will stand? When the fire of testing comes, is your faith tested and proven, and what remains is a pure genuineness? Or will your faith be burnt away because it was built on some other reasons other than Christ? And today, we want to bring us all to that place where we can recommit our lives to be built on Christ and Christ alone. Can I invite you to put away your things? Just rise to your feet all over this place. Come. Just rise to your feet all over this place. Prepare to respond to God.